by a show of fingers, who is concerned about the situation at America's southern border? Show of fingers. Who's concerned about the situation in America's southern? All 7 of you. I know you talked about this a little bit earlier, so I'm not going to overdo it. Mary Beth, what's concerning to you about the southern border?
I think illegal immigrants are coming across the border. Some of them have a criminal background. And then when they come in the United States, we're shipping them to cities that are now responsible for them. We have to pay their education, their medical, their housing. So, charity begins at home. So it should be American citizens. I think if people want to come to America, I have no problem with that, but they should do it legally and not just, and there should be vetting, which there isn't.
Olivia, what's concerning to you?
Well, the issue of security is like the top because you don't know the people coming in, no one's screening them. And then they are adding to the population and there are chances of overpopulation, and that would affect housing. We'll have a lot of people on the streets, homeless people.
Okay. Other than what Mary Beth and Olivia mentioned, and Kathy, you talked about this earlier, you gave us other reasons around this too. Other reasons why people are concerned about what's happening at the southern border? Any other? Go ahead.
Allowing the immigrants to come in, take jobs without being vetted, getting the benefits that our people can't get, but they can get automatically, such as Social Security. When people have worked all their lives in the United States, they were born here, and they can't get the same benefits as an illegal coming into this country. And we're letting our enemies in. They're bringing in drugs. They're bringing in viruses. We have all nations of people from China, they're wanting to set up cells in our country to go after our people and talk of another 9/11. It's just, I don't feel safe.
Okay. Mary Beth?
The other thing I thought of is, I think it shows that, as a country, we don't have control. It doesn't, to the rest of the world, it makes us appear weak, that we can't even control who's coming into our country, which our enemies are going to take advantage of that.
All right. So let me ask you this. Is Congress doing anything about immigration? Have you heard any news about anything happening in Congress where they're attempting to do anything around immigration? Who's heard that there's something going on in Congress now around immigration? Any of you? I got Amy, Olivia, Kathy, and Heidi. 4 of you are here. Something is going on. Okay. So I'm going to, my next question is the longest question of the night. So bear with me, detailed, but I wanted to ask you about it and then talk about it. So President Biden wants to secure funding from Congress to help Ukraine and Israel. Many Senate Republicans are telling him that if he wants that funding, he also has to support their solutions for the southern border, the US southern border, which include making it much harder for migrants to seek asylum in the US. There have been negotiations going on for months to craft a deal both parties can agree with. And those negotiations include giving the president the ability to shut down the border when it becomes overwhelmed.
Yeah, fine.
Former President Trump, meanwhile, has convinced many House Republicans to oppose a bipartisan deal, saying it would not go far enough to solve the problem at the southern border. Okay. Given the massive number of migrants coming across our border, which approach do you prefer? I'm going to read both again, and please listen. I'll ask you for a vote. One approach is to pass a bipartisan plan supporting Ukraine and Israel and more aggressive protecting of our southern border. The other is to reject this plan in the hope that Trump wins in November and Republicans get control of both the House and the Senate so they can pass legislation that imposes even tougher actions at the border. Everybody got that? Understand the dynamic? The bipartisan plan, the Senate Republicans support along with Democrats and President Biden. And then there's the House Republicans and Trump who are saying, no way, I don't want this. Let's hope that we all win in November and we get to do the policy that we want. So by a show of fingers, who would say between those two options that you prefer the bipartisan plan that's being proposed and worked on between the Congress and the White House? Show of fingers. I got two, Mary Beth and Amy. And who would support the Trump approach with the House Republicans? 5 of you. Okay, so let's talk about both of those so I understand why you came out the way you did. Amy, help me understand why you
I mean,
support the bipartisan approach.
because you gave us like the two. I mean, I don't really want money to go to Ukraine or Israel, so I would prefer everything be separated, but they're not going to separate it. So I think one side take a win, one side take a loss, other side take a win, take a loss type of deal.
Okay, so the compromise package would
Will work.
okay. Mary Beth, explain to me why that's.
Well, I would say, you know, if Biden is president right now, Trump is not going to be president for, you know, another year or two. So I would say go with the bipartisan plan now. At least we're doing something to shut down the border. And then if Trump becomes president, then let him get more aggressive and do more things in the border. But at least in the meantime, we're stopping some people coming in.
Got it. Okay. So that's on one side. So if that's 2 of you. The other 5 of you want to take Trump's position on all of this. So Olivia, explain to me why you would take Trump's position on this.
Okay, I would say you don't go around splashing money on wars for other countries when your country has needs. Your people have a lot of needs. So I'd go with Trump because he wouldn't need you to do his bidding before he can do the right thing. But then November is a long time.
Okay, got it. Heidi, what about you? Why take the Trump side in this?
Well, I agree with closing the border now. We've given our dollars to Ukraine and other countries, and in Israel. I mean, I stand with Israel, but I just think that we need to concentrate on our own country and our own people before, I mean, we're just making money and handing it out. And I believe that we need to concentrate of the problems of our country and close the border and impeach Mayorkas.
Okay. For the other 3 of you who support the Trump approach, same reason, different reason? Susan, what about you?
I would hope that if we wait for Trump, that these would be treated as 2 completely separate issues and not boxed together.
Okay, meaning
Right.
it's immigration versus Ukraine and Israel.
Right, that they are 2 separate issues and would be treated as such because they're both very important issues.
Okay, so let me, the 5 of you who side with Trump, let me just pose a hypothetical. So some people are saying, you know what, the crisis at the border is so acute that we can't wait a year until a new president, potentially President Trump again, takes office. Why not take a win now as opposed to waiting a year and hoping that Republicans control everything when they might not? They could win the House, but not the Senate. They could win the Senate, but not the House. And then you got deadlock again. Why not take the win now?
If you take a win now, you're settling. It's very difficult to undo that later on or to change it at all later on. So that's why I wouldn't want to take a win now.
I don't like that they grouped that together, the border crisis and supplying, money and arms and everything to other countries, such as Ukraine. And I think they should be separate.
Okay, got it. I'm sorry, Kathy, you're muted again.
There we go. The to me, the bipartisan plan comes across as blackmail. It's like, we'll shut down the southern border, only allow 5,000 in a day, but you have to give us money for Ukraine and for Israel. So then in 3 months, is it going to be, okay, well, now we need money for Taiwan and we need money for Yemen, whatever. So we're going to reduce the amount of people in the southern border to 3,000. No. And it's like, as long as Abbott is guarding his border and other states are going to pitch in and help him out, then yes, I'll wait until Trump's president.
Got it. Thank you. By a show of fingers, who is concerned about the situation at America's southern border? All 8 of you. Daisy, tell me what's concerning to you.
Violence, drug cartels, all the bad people. I'm not from originally the US, so I kind of like relate, very close to this. I'm all from immigrants. I'm one of them, but the right way. I know the kind of people that wants to come here and does, do it that way. Also, on my eyes, I feel like it's unfair to see all those people just coming, crossing. I hear stories like, if I put myself out and give up, I just go to jail for a few days or maybe a couple months, and then here I am free. And then, like in my case, for example, right now I'm waiting 2 years for my parents to get an appointment to renew their visa the right way. So I feel like, and you have all these people coming, bringing more balance, giving them benefits that all of us are working so hard and we pay so much of an insurance, for example, like it's like half of my paycheck. And then, oh, here I come and just, I give you everything for free, food, healthcare. How about us that have been doing it the right way?
Got it. If you would mind, can you tell us what country you're from originally?
I'm from Colombia.
Colombia. Okay, thank you. Other reasons other than what Daisy said about why you're upset about what's going on with immigration. Christine, sure, go ahead.
I heard a story recently. There was a bus of immigrants who had come in illegally, and they were trying to figure out where to put them. So they actually had them go to a school, I believe. I don't know if it was Philly or New York or where it was.
Yeah,
and
it was
basically-
New York.
Was it Philly?
New York.
Going like crazy in New York. Yeah.
Yeah, and
It was New York.
basically, these kids were then forced to go and do their school online so that they could house these immigrants till they figured out what to do with them.
Yeah.
So it's impacting people, it's impacting families.
Got it. So I'm going to ask you to listen carefully to what is by far the longest question I'm going to ask you tonight. Okay, so bear with me if you would, because I need you to listen carefully. It's a complex question. I don't mean to tax you at the end of the session, but please listen carefully to it. So President Biden wants to secure funding from Congress to help Ukraine and Israel. Many Senate Republicans are telling him that if he wants that funding, he also has to support their solutions for the southern border, which include making it much harder for migrants to seek asylum in the US. There have been negotiations going on for months to craft a deal both parties can agree with. And those negotiations include giving the president the ability to shut down the border when it becomes overwhelmed. That's one side. Former President Trump, meanwhile, has convinced many House Republicans to oppose a bipartisan deal, the one I just described, saying it would not go far enough to solve the problems at the southern border. That's what Trump and his allies in the House Republicans are saying. Given the massive number of migrants coming across our border, which of those two approaches do you prefer? I'm going to read them to you again. And I'm going to ask for a vote. One approach is to pass a bipartisan plan supporting Ukraine and Israel and more aggressive protecting of our southern border. The other is to reject that plan in the hope that Trump wins in November and Republicans get control of both the House and the Senate so that they can pass legislation that imposes even tougher actions at the border. Does everybody understand the dynamic I'm describing here? A bipartisan plan that Biden and Senate Republicans are working on. And then there's Trump saying, no way, just let me become president, get a Republican House and Senate, and I'll impose much stricter things specifically on the border. Okay? By a show of fingers, who would say that you support the bipartisan approach of Biden working with the Senate Republicans to get a deal? Okay, 3 of you. And who would support the Trump approach? 5 of you. Okay. So for the 3 of you who would support the bipartisan approach, it was Jessica, Christine, and Michelle, right? Jessica, tell me why you support the bipartisan approach.
I just feel like for right now, Ukraine really needs the money. So like, let's make a deal now. And we do need stricter rules. I know the only reason they're like holding out is because they're like, they want the Republicans to bend, the Democrats want the Republicans to bend a little bit, but I think the agreement is good now and Ukraine needs the money now. So for now, that's good. And then Trump can do what he does if he wins later. I don't know.
Okay. Christine, why do you support the bipartisan deal?
Yeah, I agree with the last person, but I was thinking of it more from the border. Let's tighten it up and get what we can do now. And then I just don't understand why we can't do both. I mean, let's do what we can now. And then if and when Trump gets in, then he can make it even tighter.
Okay. Michelle, same reason or different?
Most of the same reason. You know, I'm afraid of exactly how tight he'll make it. It's a huge problem, and I feel like it does need to be shut down right now because it's just affecting so much. I wouldn't want him to go in the complete opposite direction and for people because at one point it seemed like he talked about shutting everything down completely and people couldn't even do it the proper way. So I don't want it to go so far in that direction that people don't even have the opportunity to do it the legal way.
Right, you mean Trump, right?
Yeah.
Got it.
Yes.
Okay. So on the other side, the Trump approach. Lisa, tell me why you want to do it, follow the way Trump wants to do this.
I honestly think that we need super strong border patrol, border rules and regulations, and it's getting to be out of control. And I feel like we're the only country that just lets everybody in, whoever wants to come. But if you're going to do it the proper way and get the proper paperwork done and things like that, I also don't believe it should take 2 years or 3 years. And but the illegal part of it needs to just stop completely. Like it needs to just shut down.
Lisa, hang on a second. If you follow, just play devil's advocate for a second. If you follow what Trump is suggesting, that means for another year, first you have to bet that he wins, which he may or may not. And secondly, that's a year between now and the next inauguration. So that's a year of crisis. Why wouldn't you take the deal now that's on the table as opposed to waiting a year and hope that Trump is the one in charge with a Republican House and Senate?
Because I don't believe that they're going to do what they say they're going to do now.
Okay, got it. So basically, if it passes now and Biden signs a bipartisan deal, it's not going to make much of a difference.
No, I don't think so. I think he'll say what he needs to say to get to that point. And then maybe he'll do a little bit, maybe it'll help a little bit, but it's not going to help to the extreme of what Trump is going to do.
Got it. Okay, great. Anybody else have for the other 4 of you who are with the Trump approach? Does anybody else have a wildly different reason? Daisy, go ahead quickly if you could, just in the interest of time.
I just feel like it's enough for us wasting money, not wasting, just giving away money to other countries. I get it, they need it, but we in here have an in-house crisis and we need the money for our people to solve so many problems we have. And it shouldn't be on the table. Let me help another one so I can help the border, help the whole
Got it.
country in a whole.